All right, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're heading out to the Arabian desert.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. Now, I know what you're thinking. The desert, really? Not exactly the first place that comes to mind for like major archaeological finds, right?
Right.
But get this, there's this site in the UAE that is seriously shaking things up when it comes to, early human migration and how we think about tool making and all that.
Amazing.
Yeah. What we're going to talk about today is going to kind of challenge what people think they know
Yeah.
about early human migration.
Yeah. It's
No.
wild. Like, we all kind of have this picture in our heads of the Arabian Peninsula just being like a quick stop on the way out of Africa.
Yeah, just a corridor.
A corridor. Exactly.
But it wasn't just a corridor. The site that we're going to talk about today is called the Jebel Faya rock shelter. And what it shows is that humans were actually living there sustainably as far back as 80,000 years ago.
I know, 80,000 years. That just like totally blows the old 40,000 year timeline out of the water.
Right.
It's crazy. 80,000 years ago, people were living there, making tools, adapting to the environment.
And the tools, oh my gosh, the tools. They're not just like, your average caveman tools.
No, they're not just some chipped rocks. These were skillfully made blades.
Yeah.
Long, thin blades made with a technique called bidirectional napping. And to get that level of precision with just stone.
It's mind-blowing. Seriously, imagine trying to do that
That takes real skill.
with just stone. I mean, I can barely sharpen a pencil.
Right. It shows planning. It shows an understanding of the material, a certain level of mastery.
Definitely not your average, just banging rocks together.
No, not real. And what's really interesting is that at Jebel Faya, archaeologists found a complete napping sequence.
What does that mean, a napping sequence?
So that means they found evidence of the entire process of making the tools from start to finish.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't just, they found a technique and got lucky. There was a system, a tradition.
So like a whole workshop dedicated to making these blades.
Exactly, like a specialized workshop.
Wow. So, okay, we've got humans thriving 80,000 years ago in this area, making these incredible tools. But here's my question. What happened to them? Why aren't they still there?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that archaeologists are still trying to figure out. But we do know that around that time, the Arabian Peninsula was going through some pretty big climate shifts. It was becoming drier.
Ah, so maybe climate change had something to do with it.
Possibly, yeah. Did these early humans migrate because of the changing environment, or did they adapt and stay put? We don't know for sure, because unfortunately, no human remains have been found at Jebel Faya, at least not yet.
Right, it's like a missing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But even without those remains, those tools, they tell a story of resilience.
Yeah.
They were able to create these amazing things in a changing and challenging environment.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is when we look at tools found in other parts of Arabia, like the Nifud Desert, we see that there's some variation.
Wait, so you're saying the tools are different in different areas?
Yes, the Jebel Faya blades are unique, which suggests that different groups across Arabia might have developed their own specialized tool-making techniques.
So almost like different regions had their own style of toolmaking.
Exactly. It's like regional styles or dialects of tool-making, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
It's really cool. It's like they weren't just all copying each other. They were innovating and coming up with their own ways of doing things.
Right, and that's what makes Jebel Faya so important. It challenges our assumptions about early human migration.
Yeah, like we tend to think of it as this straight line, out of Africa, and then everyone went in the same direction. But this suggests that there might have been multiple ways of migration earlier than we thought.
Exactly, and those different groups weren't just passing through, they were settling down, developing their own cultures, and creating these unique tools.
It really makes you wonder, who were these Jebel Faya toolmakers? Did they interact with other groups? Did they share ideas? Or were they totally isolated?
So many questions, right? And that's what we're going to explore next.
Okay, so we've got these different tool-making styles all over ancient Arabia.
Yeah, really interesting.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, did these groups ever, run into each other? Did they ever, compare notes on their techniques? Like, was there some kind of Stone Age toolmakers convention going on?
Well, we haven't found any evidence of, a Stone Age convention center, but yeah, the question of interaction is huge.
Yeah.
It's really important to figure out, were they connected? Or was each group kind of doing their own thing?
Right, because it's a totally different picture if they were sharing ideas and, learning from each other.
Yeah.
Versus if they were totally isolated.
Exactly. And that's what makes Jebel Faya, with its unique blade technology, so fascinating. It's not just a site in the desert. It's a window into this whole world of activity and how these early humans might have been connected, even across long distances.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about how clever these early humans were.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, here we are today with all our fancy gadgets and technology, and 80,000 years ago, they were creating these intricate tools with just stone.
It's pretty amazing.
It's humbling.
Yeah, it really shows how adaptable humans are, how resilient.
Yeah.
Think about it, they faced all these challenges, changing climate, limited resources, probably predators.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And not only did they survive, but they thrived.
I know, it's not just surviving, it's innovating. They developed new techniques, new tools to deal with their environment.
Exactly. And it's not just about the physical tools themselves. It's about the knowledge, the skills that were passed down through generations, like a legacy that we're still uncovering.
It really makes you wonder, we talked about the missing human remains. What if down the line we do find some and we're able to extract DNA? Could we connect these tool makers to, people living in Arabia today?
Oh man, that would be incredible. It would be like finding a missing link, connecting us back to these ancient ancestors.
Can you imagine tracing your family tree back 80,000 years?
Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Talk about a family history project.
It would completely change our understanding of human evolution and migration, like how much did these early groups contribute to, the genetic makeup of modern populations? We could rewrite what we know about the peopling of Arabia.
And it would definitely challenge that whole idea that Arabia was just a transit point, right? I mean, if we find those genetic links, it means that these people didn't just pass through, they stayed, they built lives, they became part of the region.
Exactly, it would change the whole narrative.
Which kind of leads to another big question. What happened to them? Why don't we see their direct descendants today?
It's a mystery, right? Did they assimilate into other groups? Did they migrate somewhere else? Did something happen to them?
That's they just vanished.
We don't know yet, but that's why sites like Jebel Faya are so important, They give us concrete evidence that these people existed, that they were skilled, that they innovated, that they left their mark on the region.
Yeah, even if we don't know exactly what happened to them, their legacy's still there.
Exactly. It's like they're whispering to us across time, figure out our story, understand our lives, see what we did.
Love that.
And with each new discovery, with every artifact we find, we get closer and closer to doing just that.
Yeah, it's like solving a giant puzzle, piece by piece.
Exactly. But there are still so many pieces missing, so much more to uncover, so much more to learn.
I know. It's kind of crazy to think that, out there somewhere, buried under all that sand, there could be, another Jebel Faya.
Yeah.
Another site just waiting to, rewrite history.
Absolutely. That's what makes archaeology so exciting. You never know what you're going to find, what's going to turn up and change everything.
Totally. So, okay, as we wrap up our deep dive into Jebel Faya, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all tell us about, us? Our place in, the grand scheme of things?
I think the biggest thing is that human history, it's not just a straight line,
Right.
It's messy, it's complicated. There's so much going on: migration, adaptation, innovation.
Yeah.
All these forces that have shaped who we are from the very beginning.
And those forces, they're still at work today, right? We're still migrating, adapting, innovating.
Absolutely. It's a constant process.
So we're all part of this, bigger story.
Yeah, a story that goes back, thousands and thousands of years.
And Jebel Faya, it's like a chapter in that story, a chapter that we're just starting to understand.
Exactly. And every new discovery, every artifact we find, it adds another page to that chapter, It helps us understand who we are, where we came from.
It's pretty inspiring, honestly.
It is. It really is.
I'm kind of ready to grab a shovel and head out to the desert myself.
Haha. Well, maybe we'll leave the digging to the pros for now.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
They're the ones carefully piecing together this incredible puzzle,
Yeah.
Bit by bit.
And thanks to them, we get to peek into this, amazing past, a past that's way more complex and interesting than I think a lot of us realize.
It's true. We often think of the past as simple, but it wasn't. It was full of different cultures, different ways of life, different stories.
And Jebel Faya, it's just one of those stories, a story that's challenging our assumptions and making us rethink what we thought we knew.
Exactly. And it's a story that's still unfolding.
So next time you use a tool, any tool, think about, its history.
Yeah. Think about the people who came before us, the skills they had, the ingenuity.
And what about the tools we use today? Like our phones, our computers?
Oh, that's a good one. What will those tools say about us, thousands of years from now? What story will they tell?
That's something to think about, for sure. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Jebel Faya.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering.